Whoo, what's going on YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. This guy right here. So, I have a request from a guy named, it's a big one, guys. Let me try to pronounce it all right. Sam. That's it. His YouTube name was just Sam. But Sam obviously has good taste in knives because Sam requested this knife right here. I brought it to you before. It's actually been in a couple different videos. And he wanted to see more like camp usage, you know, show you some different things that the blade might be able to be good for. And that's what I'm going to do today. This is the Hen Rooster HR-5007. And this happens to be, of all the Bowie knives I own, I believe this is my oldest one. This one has been with me for years. I've had this for a long time. You can see it's in great shape. It's in great shape. Stag handle, just awesome. It's the sister blade to the Case XX. Same, pretty much everything from here back, different from here back. What we're looking at is, let's measure. Let's measure. We're looking at an overall length of 14 inches with a blade length of just about 9¼ inches. You have a real stag handle. You have a brass handguard with brass pommel at the end, holding the end of the steel that holds this bad boy on. So has sometimes just got to get it loose. So this thing is phenomenal. I've done no blade work to this. This is all original. I've had this thing for years. I use this one less than my other ones. I don't know why. Maybe I just had it for so long and I just keep getting new blades that it's been back shelf, and I haven't really taken it out in quite a long time. But this thing is freaking awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a few tasks with it. This steel is typical Hen Rooster 4116 German stainless. And it is just heat treated so well. Everything about this knife is just, I mean, beautiful. If you've ever looked at the Case XX and said, holy snap, crackle, and pop, that's a good looking blade, then you're going to look at this and say, holy snap, crackle, and pop, that's a good looking blade. It is just a joy and a pleasure to own and hold. But Sam doesn't care about how it feels in the hand, owning and holding. He wants to know what would this thing be like if I took it out camping. Is it going to be all right? Well, let's find out. I had a couple things I wanted to knock down first. Last night I had a bottle of Money Bag, that Gene Simmons soda that I brought you guys. That stuff is good. All right, so the sheath. Dangler, typical Hen Rooster, very, very well built leather sheath, just awesome. I mean, this is years old. That sheath is awesome. All right, so what we're going to do is I've been unpacking a bunch of packages that have come in. Got a bunch of knives. You see all this? This is what these knives have been coming wrapped in boxes like this, full of knives. So believe me when I tell y'all, we got some stuff coming. I got my ferro rod right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gather myself up a little bundle. So hold on. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I got a little bit of wrapping right here. Just going to take that, put that on there. Now I can throw spark with the spine, and if you look right there, you can see that I've thrown spark with this already. It's like got the little ferro rod scratches on it. That's the only show of damage that's on this, and that's from me taking it camping just a couple times. That's right, this pretty blade has been used more than once doing camping, plus it's been used more than once doing videos. So it's not good looking because it's unused, it's good looking because it's awesome. So let's try and get this ferro rod going. What I'm going to use is the end of the blade by the ricasso. Maybe I shouldn't do it down here because it's all steel. Let me do it down here. Oh, that was there. It was lit. Man, I'll tell you, maybe I should back you guys up so you can actually see what's happening here. Maybe even post it up a little higher. That's what I'll do. I'm just not thinking today, guys. I'm not thinking. I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. All right, so I'm catching spark. Not in a very comfortable way here. Let's try that again. I should have chose a better substance to get light. I'm just going straight paper. And I didn't even cut it up. I just balled it up. So we are going to get this thing lit. But you can see that I was definitely catching spark. And now that it's lit, you can really see that it's catching spark. So can I use my beautiful Hen Rooster? Let me clean off all the crud. It's actually just the discoloration from the ferro rod. Damaged? No. I just used this part of the blade, this part of the edge, to use the ferro rod. And why did I use this? Because I don't use this thing for anything else. Right here, this little area, you don't use for anything. So people say, oh, you don't use the edge to strike a ferro rod. Well, why can't you use right there? Why? I don't understand why people have this hang up about, look at AFR, about using just the ricasso edge right here. Is it going to scratch up? Yeah, it's going to scratch up. Who cares? Who cares? It works out just fine. So now that we know that we can strike a ferro rod and make fire, which is a big camp need, we have to make sure that we have wood to keep a fire going, which is a big camp need. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out, we're going to find a few pieces of wood, and we're going to camp need it. Let's close that up. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Here we are at the old stump. It's actually the new stump, but it's the old stump. All right, so let's do a couple of downwards 4-foot falls just to see how that balance is, so you get to understand how well balanced this knife is. It's dead straight. How well is that handle on there? Well, a couple of hard downward throws are enough to loosen up a bad knife, but not a good knife. Not a good knife. So, camping. There's things we need. We need wood prep. You need animal defense, which means either building for setting traps, or even hand-to-hand, uh-oh, that thing's coming at me type thing. And this is a big blade. You've seen the story about the guy who defended himself against a bear and killed it with a buck 110, right? The little tiny buck 110. This will do a lot more damage than a buck 110. So is it possible to defend yourself against a bear? It's been done more than once, my friends. All right, so let's see. Rope. When you're building a campsite, you need to be able to cut rope. You need to be able to cut things down so you can build your shelters with. This thing is years old. The edge is untouched. It's been used enough, and I'll tell you, you can see the tarnish there. I've had this thing for a long time. Look at that brass. It's got some wear on it. I've taken this thing out, camping, I don't know, probably 10 times since I've had this. And it's still going strong. It's a beast. All right, so let's get into some wood prep here. So we're definitely going to need, let's see. Oh, that's beautiful. You need bark? Well, here's some bark. People say, well, what the hell are you going to need bark for? Bark is good for windbreak. If you're building a shelter, you can use bark on the sides or the roof to help keep it more wind and water secured, right? And peeling off that bark was pretty simple, actually. Now, I might have to cut me a baton because this one's getting kind of old and cruddy. Let's see here. We're gonna need wood prep. We're gonna need prep. We're gonna need firewood. That's one piece. Let's see here. Breaking down a log. Instead of breaking down a small piece this thick, you can actually take a big piece of wood and break it down piece by piece, right? And these old West style Bowies are just made for this kind of stuff. Just made for it. Probably gonna lose this baton pretty soon. Man, and it's just tearing this wood apart. And I know that if I need firewood, I got firewood. So now I'm breaking off a bunch of pieces. I need to turn some of this into kindling, right? So what about that? Well, how about this? How about this? Taking just a few downward swats, I'm getting kindling, right? I'm getting little tiny pieces to start it all off. All right, well, that's great, but you're gonna need to get that wood going, right? All right, well, you see me batoning with it. You see me lighting fires with it. You know, so if it's not a good camp edge, you're not gonna be getting these pretty long curls looking fantastic and sweet. You know what I mean? So if you need to light a fire and you need to catch a board, that kind of stuff is important. So what we're going to do is I want to take a nice flat piece. All right, so let's see. I need a nice flat piece here. I might have to make a flat piece. And that's what I think I'm going to do right now. Is I'm going to take this one that I'd already batoned, and I'm going to baton it down a little bit farther. And I'll show you why, and I'll show you for what. So I need to make a slat, right? Not just a hunk of wood. I need a nice thin slat, a nice board is what I need. Not like a board like, oh, I'm so bored. I mean like a board. So what I got to do is take off some pieces so I can have a nice flat piece of wood, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to go gentle and soft because I want it right and I don't want to split it. And I'll show you why. So now that I have a nice flat piece, let me bring y'all a little closer. All right, so let's get you guys in here with me up close and personal. I apologize if that means you have to look at my face any closer, because that's gross. That's gross. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that and we're gonna take this. And now I'm gonna find a nice thin edge right here. And I'm going to just do a little notching, right? And what I want is a valley, just a little valley. And the valley is gonna be an air chute for a fireboard, right? So what I want to do is at the end of this valley, I only have to go about a ½ inch. I'm going to take my knife tip and I'm going to stick it in, and now I'm going to make a bow hole, all right, bow drill. And what that's going to do is when I need to make a fire, if I don't have a ferro rod and all that, what I do is I make a nice little notch like this, a hole, right? And I leave a good little stream for air. And that way, when I'm taking my stick and I'm spinning, and I'm creating that heat in here, right? Then this right here is going to be my air pocket, and it's going to help me get my fire started. So can I make a fire stick, a fireboard? Absolutely. Bow hole drilling is really, really important. If you're a camper without a ferro rod or without a match or without a lighter, having a tip on your knife that can do this without chipping and without turning and without doing anything like that is very, very important. Now, all that batoning we just did, how's that edge holding up? That edge is flawless. That edge is flawless. So, see, I got all this all this nice firewood now, and I'm actually going to use it. It's actually going to be used as firewood because, you know, sometimes that's what you just got to do. Hold on a second. Let's put that one down there. Let's see if we can't get a let go and swat. Absolutely. And the blade is so good that the follow through stuck right in the log. All right, so what do you say? Wow, look at that bite. I gotta show you this with an actual swing. Let's see. Let's see, bring you back down here. Okay, I'm gonna give it one swing into the side of this. That's pretty much buried. That's pretty much buried. Turn that back around without using my hands. All right, so really we know that we can get our ropes cut to make our shelter. We know that we can peel the bark to help insulate our shelter. We know that we can make fire to help keep our shelter warm, but we still need a shelter. You can't have a shelter if you're not chopping down something. So let's go chop something down. All right, so I'm going to show you guys something that's really, really interesting and very, very cool. When the Native Americans, you know, scoured this land and used it for everything they needed to use it for, they used to have to mark paths how to get to their villages and whatnot. And they didn't have spray paint, so it's not like they could just mark things, you know, the way we would do it. They weren't putting up aluminum signs with big, you know, reflective arrows on it. What the Native Americans would do is they would find some woods and they would take some young trees and they would put a bend right in the bottom, right? And when they walked through and they found the trees with the bends in them, they would use that as a marker on how to get to their village. My house was built in 1771, older than the United States of America. When this house was built, the Agawam Indians were all over the place. They were just, this was their domain, right? This was their home. And they had to have markers on where to go and how to get to where they needed to go. And when this house was built, the builder, Captain John Porter, he befriended the Agawam Indians. They would come over and for trade and for dinner. If they were cooking outside here, the Indian people would just walk right up and they would bring stuff and they would sit down and they would have dinner here at this house. And I thought that was great. Before this house was built, though, this was a path. It was a path for them to navigate because the river is that way and they lived right over here. So having navigation paths was pretty important. And you can always tell the tree has got a really weird bend in it. You see this tree? Goes all the way up there. Trees like this that come up and then down were bent by the Native Americans. And you'd see these a lot. You'll see areas where entire sections of woods look like that. And you think, wow, what a weird tree, how it grows like that. The reason this tree grows like that is because it's purposely bent. And that's an old Native American thing. And I think that's pretty cool. So that's not the tree we're going to be chopping down because I like that one. All right, so a little respect to the Native American. I mean, genius to bend trees as markers. You know, people called them uneducated savages. But I'll tell you what, any of those college boys back in the day, you know, who claimed those Native Americans were uneducated, if you stuck them out in the woods with nothing but a knife and told them go live, well, they're just not educated enough to live in the woods with nothing but a knife. And these Native Americans, they had to make their knife first, so they're even one up on that. Don't sleep on that story. All right, so we need to build the shelters. 3-inch trees, perfect. We could build a whole little cabin, but you can't build it if it's still stuck up in the air. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna chop at it. And so now what I'm gonna do is come up, and you can see this thing is just being torn apart. And we want to get it to fall this way. So now that this side is broke here, what I want to do is take the girth out of here and make it drop that way. That's a ta-da moment in sports right there. Fell exactly where I wanted it to, and the reason I wanted it to fall that way is, well, because I didn't want to hit you guys. So, can it chop down a tree if you needed to? Yep. Can it process wood? Yep. Can it make a fireboard? Yep. Can it cut your cordage? Yep. Can it strike a spark? Yep. Is it going to be able to cut up your meat? Yep. This edge is beautiful. What can this knife do as a camp knife that, you know, you need it to do that it shouldn't be able to? It does whatever you need it to. Whatever you need it to. Look at this. So right here, this is how you put two pieces together, right? So what I would do is I would flatten that one out, take another one, and do the same thing, flatten it. Then when I put them together, they sit. Do the same thing on the other side. And now you have a square wedge. And I'll show you actually. There's another just a little camp trick when you're cabin building. Let's take you over here. So now you see, let me see, am I in there? Let me see where my hand is. Yeah, right there. So you can see that it's squared on two sides, right? The rest is still round. So this would be the end that sticks out. This would be my wall. Yuck. And these two slabs right here are going to make my cabin stay together a lot better, because flat pieces stacked on each other are better than round pieces stacked on each other, obviously. So Sam, you were asking about the Hen Rooster HR-5007, and I believe that's what it is. Yeah, it says it right on there. Can it be used as a comparable camp knife? Can this thing do everything? I'm tripping over here. Everything that a camp knife needs to be able to do for you to survive in the woods? Absolutely. You know, while we're here, how about just a baby swing? Uh-oh, look at that thing. I did a baby swing and I hit it just on the tip, and it went like halfway through, and it's a perfect line. I don't know if you can see that right there. Just a perfect line. So now let's finish it off. Look how clean that is. Look how clean that is. Bam. Gosh, I love this knife. So, you wanted, you know, my first video I did on this was one of my first videos, right? And I was brand new. And I have to say that I sucked. The camera was turned the wrong way. You know, I was just getting my feel for what I needed to show as far as, you know, the knife's capabilities and all that. I was 3/4 D3 when I started. But, you know, I've come to figure out what's most important for people to understand what it takes for a knife to be a good knife, and for what you're going to need to use that knife for. You know, I'm not going to hammer my knife into a 4x4 like this and then stand on it to see if it'll break, because that's only what dumbass people do, and there are guys out there that are doing that. No, I'm going to show you what this knife is made for and how well it does what it's supposed to do. Is there any loosening? Not even a smidgen. Not even a smidgen. Is there any damage? Not even a smidgen. This thing is great. What it's going to take now is some soap and water, and all that stuff we just did to it, it's going to polish right back up. Hold on. All right, so as you see, it's dirty, filthy, nasty from all that stuff on it. Well, I just cleaned that side. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I just cleaned one side. Just soap and water. That's it. Those lines on it are just from the blade not being dry. Not being dry. Let's see. Let's see if we can't just polish it up with the jacket real quick. I mean, you can see the streaks of the water. That's it. This blade has no scratches, no dents, no dings. Look at that. Look at that. It's literally just water. Water smudge on there, and probably the soap still that has to evaporate. But let's get a nice clean spot here. Let's get a nice clean spot. All right, so you see that clean spot right there. That's what the whole thing looks like underneath these streaks. It's mirror. It's mirror. I've used this out camping because I've had it for so long. So it was the only big Bowie I had at one point. I've used this camping probably about 10 different trips. I've had this thing, man, I don't even know how long. I've had this thing for a bunch of years. And I mean a bunch of years. And it's still amazing. So you see what happens when you use it. It just collects all that crap, all that crud. Right? Look at the edges. You're like, oh man, it looks all crappy. Well, all it takes is soap and water. And that's it. And, you know, being stainless, it's going to continue to look like that. Being awesome, it's going to continue to use like that. So now, Sam, I got to say that I'm pretty happy that you requested this, because I think you reinvigorated my my passion for this knife. And who knows, maybe I'll just bring this one out on the next camping trip, because it's awesome and deserving. So you wanted to see how it does real world camping, what it can do, can it baton and all that. You asked me certain questions. I hope you like it, man. I hope you like it. I hope that answered some questions. I'm Donnie B all day. Until next knife.